guys, welcome back. It's time for my 90-day update. It's more like 100 days, but whatever. So I wasn't really happy with the rock structure here. It seems like there weren't enough rocks to mount corals in the middle of the tank. So I kind of changed that up a little bit and added a little bit more. Also, the Montiporas on the left-hand side, the Spungodes or Spungode, I don't know how it's pronounced. It's very red and brown. Actually, not red, it's more brown. So just pay attention to that now. It's changed a little bit. So here's the Rockscape now. I add some more pieces and I'm a little bit more happy with it. I don't think the 2-island approach would work well in this tank just because it's not large enough. Maybe if it was a 6-foot tank it would work great. You know, you have places to mount corals on each side and like 3 sides of each island. But so whatever, you know, I add more rock. It's modular. I could mount something if my flow or I'm getting stagnation has changed. I can just sort of separate things and play around, move it around a little bit, and if I need to remove it, it won't be a big issue at all. I added some extra sand. It's the Bohemian Pink. It's very fine and coarse at the same time. I like it. I've used it before. It works great. You do have to rinse it pretty well though. Even though it's live sand, I found like plant particles in it and whatnot. So here's that Montipora Spungodes or Spungode. If you could help me with it, with the phonetics, that would be great. Leave a comment. But I cut some of it down and the color changed instantly. All the brown, once it got more light, it turned to a more maybe fuchsia color. I don't know if that's it, but it's kind of a purplish sort of pink type of color. And there's some highlights of green in there. It looks pretty cool now. So the frag I had was roughly maybe 3 or even 4 inches, and I wanted to cut it down, lay it down a little bit so it grew more horizontal, and then all the vertical growth would almost be the same. So the color's not too far off here. Here on the background it looks very brown. This is just my 10Ks, but I used a magnetic frag plug and I glued to the front and to each side, and I actually pushed it towards the corner, and yeah, so hopefully it kind of grows in the corner and attaches to both walls. So make sure to go to Mile High Reefer's page. He has one of these on his back wall. It looks really cool because they played out and grow upwards, and the growth is really kind of erratic. And here's a green slimer. It's really colored up. It's hard to video it back here because it's just so dark, but it's really bright and it's looking good. And this is the BC Flow 2. It's hard to see it from this angle, but it's slightly encrusting, it's growing upwards, and it's coloring up a little bit here. So if you're new to SPS, you might receive one in the mail and it looks really colorful and then it'll fade. You know, imagine someone has a colony and they cut a nice piece and it's doing well in their tank and they ship it to you. It'll get a little bit stressed out and it might fade once you get it, but it'll color back up. It can take months to color up. As you can see right here, it's getting a little bit of blue. It's looking pretty cool to me. And here's the other half of that F-Flow. So one of my buddies, his whole thing is once he gets an SPS, he says the first 3 months he just wants to see it encrust and he wants to see polyp extension. From 3 to 6 months it should receive some color, and then the 6 months to a year he's just focused on growth. You know, as you can see, this is encrusted really well. There's some polyps. And this is just from the other side of the tank, right where that wrasse is at. You can see it's kind of overhanging. It's kind of clawing upwards, looks like a hand. And this is the Battle Coral Sacale. It's doing really well. It's encrusting off of the frag plug. It seems like it's grown a little bit taller. It's hard to say. My wife always says, you know, a watched pot doesn't boil or something like that. And I say, hey, I got an apex, it doesn't matter. Nothing's boiling here. Shoot. And I have a feeling this is going to be my champion coral. I kind of say that with a lot of my corals. Well, except the dead ones. The one next to it, that brown one, is the Spain bow. And the one on the right is the PC rainbow. So technically that Spain bow was a lot more brown than it is now. It's lightening up a little bit. But there's polyp extension, so that's definitely a good thing. As far as encrustment, it's hard to tell. And that PC rainbow, it kind of has a weird side to it. I took it off the frag plug and mounted it how it was on the frag plug, but I think when it was grown, it was like growing into a wall or something. I really want to break it off and kind of glue it on its side as well, but I think I should let it heal technically. And I just want to get a polyp shot of this. And the one on the left, that is the Shades of Fall. It still has the color up. I think it's encrusting though, and I'm just light acclimating these. I run my T5s at 8 hours a day, and my blues, they're at 50%, and I'm slowly increasing them. So this is the Commoner's Envy Pusillipora. It's kind of pink at the base, and the tips are maybe a little bit green. According to the pictures, they get blue tips and low light. Yeah, this one does not like light apparently. And we'll see how it turns out. It's growing pretty well. And this is the Mike Paletta yellow tip. I kind of moved it just a little bit here. Hold that thought. Scraping some of this coralline off the snail. If you're a snowflake and you got offended by this, it's not hurting the snail at all. You know, I get trolls every once in a while. They bitch about the dumbest things, so whatever. It's not gonna hurt it. And I love eating escargot, by the way. So when I originally mounted this, it was kind of pointed towards the front of the tank. So you looked and you saw the underside of the coral that didn't get light. So I re-epoxied the rock that it's mounted on so it's kind of a little more upright, or even pointing away so the side that you see gets a lot of light and it colors up well. So if you could help me with an ID on this one, I'd appreciate it. My buddy said it was a tricolor Velita, however it's purple and blue, and it might be a Verde perhaps, I don't know. But this guy really stands out when my daytime lights are on. And here's a pink lemonade. It's still acclimating. I have 2 small screens right above it. To line the screens up, all you have to do is get a flashlight and shine it from above when your blues are on, and you can kind of find the center of the coral and align them that way. Here's the Ora frog skin, and the one next to it is the Battle Stag. And the millies are doing well. They're encrusting, and the polyps are out. I haven't killed them yet. There's the Cop's Hulk Millie. And this one seems a little bit happy. And this is the Excalibur Millie. And the Red Planet. This is not a Millie, by the way. Well, this turned out to be more of a baseline reference video, so you can see what the corals look like now, and then you have something to compare them to later on. If you happen to have any of these corals, go ahead and put a link to your actual YouTube page, and so others can actually see how these will progress and what they should look like. So please like, comment, and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Honey, I'm home. I bought some frags. Frags!